The emergency session convened at 0600 hours Galactic Standard Time, which meant someone had discovered something absolutely terrifying about the humans. Again, I slumped into my seat in the council chamber, my 3 eye stalks drooping with exhaustion. My name is Vorn, senior xenobiologist for the Galactic Cooperation Initiative, and frankly, I was getting tired of these panic meetings. Last month it was their music. Apparently using controlled explosions as percussion was considered aggressive by the Tellarian delegation. The month before that, someone found out humans intentionally inject themselves with weakened diseases to become stronger. That one nearly caused a diplomatic incident, but today was different. Administrator Queller, a Morphian whose skin currently flickered between orange and purple with stress, activated the holographic display. An image materialized above the conference table. Several delegates gasped. 2 fainted. This, Queller announced, her voice trembling, was discovered during a routine cultural exchange on Earth Station 7. We need to discuss the implications immediately. I leaned forward, squinting at the projection. It showed a human dwelling, what they called a house, and inside that house was a human female. She appeared to be approximately 30 standard years old. Nothing unusual so far. She was sitting on a soft surface they called a couch. Sitting next to her, calm as anything, was a wolf, not a small wolf. Not a wolf-like creature. An actual, genuine, 400 Newton bite force, apex predator, pack-hunting wolf, and the human was petting it. Sweet merciful void, whispered Delegate Threx, a usually unflappable Crowleyan warrior. Is she being held hostage? Should we send a rescue team? That is what we thought initially, Queller replied, her skin now a nauseating shade of green. So we investigated further. What we found is, well, see for yourselves. The hologram shifted. Now it showed dozens, no, hundreds of images. Humans with wolves. Humans with wolf descendants they had deliberately bred into thousands of varieties, some small enough to fit in a drinking vessel, others large enough to ride. The creatures had names. They slept in human beds. They played with human offspring, the humans called them dogs. This has to be a joke, I said, though my voice cracked halfway through. Some kind of human prank. You know how they are. We thought so too, Queller replied. She pressed another control. Then we found the cats. The next image made me genuinely question reality. A human male, identified as Marcus Webb, holding what appeared to be a small predator with retractable claws and prominent fangs. The creature's ancestors had been solitary hunters, deadly efficient killers of small prey. The human was pressing his face against it while it produced a vibrating sound that their xenolinguists had translated as purring, a sign of contentment. They keep ambush predators in their homes, Queller continued, her voice rising. For companionship. These creatures offer no practical benefit. They do not produce food. They do not provide labor. By human admission, cats frequently knock objects off elevated surfaces deliberately, destroy furniture, and present dead animals as gifts. And humans find this endearing. Delegate Morix, representing the herbivorous Plendian species, made a choking sound. But why? We domesticated herd animals. The Ventari domesticated small grain eaters. The Zoltan keep insect colonies that produce nutritious secretions. These are logical, beneficial relationships with prey species that pose no threat. Why would anyone domesticate something that could kill them? It gets worse, Queller said. How? I demanded. How could it possibly get worse? She pulled up another file. This one showed a timeline, genetic mapping, archaeological evidence. The dogs were first. Humans domesticated wolves approximately 15,000 Earth years ago. Not for food. Not for labor, initially. But for friendship. For protection. For emotional support. The room erupted into chaos. Everyone was talking at once, gesticulating wildly, demanding explanations that nobody had. Quella raised her voice above the din. The domestication occurred during their prehistory, when humans were still developing basic tools, when they were vulnerable to countless other predators. Instead of avoiding wolves, instead of driving them away, humans brought them into their caves and shared their food with them. They looked at an animal that could tear out their throats and thought, this would make an excellent friend. That is insane, Threx stated flatly. Even by human standards, that is completely insane. There is more. Quella's skin had gone almost white now. We interviewed a human zoologist, Dr. Patricia Hayes. According to her research, humans have domesticated, or attempted to domesticate, the following species: bears, large cats including lions and tigers, venomous reptiles, arachnids, crocodilians, and birds of prey. There is a documented case of a human keeping a hippopotamus, one of Earth's most dangerous megafauna, as a pet 4 years. I felt my breakfast threatening to make a reappearance. What is wrong with them? Dr. Hayes said, and I quote, if it is cute, fluffy, or interesting, someone will try to pet it. Danger is considered more of a guideline than a deal breaker. Delegate Sauna, a typically calm and rational Hexarian, stood abruptly. We need to reassess the human threat level. A species that deliberately surrounds themselves with predators, that chooses to cohabitate with creatures capable of harming them, that finds joy in danger, this speaks to a fundamentally different psychology than anything we have encountered. Agreed, Quella said. But the question becomes, what do we do with this information? Before anyone could answer, the chamber doors opened. A human liaison officer entered, a young woman named Rebecca Torres. She smiled pleasantly, unaware of the tension in the room. Sorry to interrupt, she said cheerfully. But I wanted to share some exciting news. The cultural exchange program has been such a success that we would like to expand it. Starting next month, human families will begin hosting Galactic Cooperation Initiative representatives in their homes on Earth. Full immersion experience. You will eat with them, live with them, really get to know human culture from the inside. The color drained from Quella's skin entirely. In their homes. With their pets. Rebecca's smile widened. Oh yes. Most families have at least one dog or cat. Some have both. My family has 3 dogs, 2 cats, and a parrot. You are going to love it. There is nothing quite like coming home to a dog who is excited to see you. Really makes you feel welcome. Threx made a sound like a deflating balloon. Morix had gone completely rigid. I was fairly certain Sauna had stopped breathing. A parrot, I heard myself say faintly. What is a parrot? A bird, Rebecca explained helpfully. They are incredibly intelligent. They can talk, use tools, and some species can even understand abstract concepts. My parrot, Captain Jack, has a vocabulary of over 300 words. He also likes to bite fingers occasionally, but only in a friendly way. Friendly, biting, Quella repeated, as if trying to comprehend an alien concept, which, I suppose, it was. Rebecca glanced at the holographic display, which still showed images of humans with various predatory animals. Oh, you have been researching our pets. Wonderful. Any questions? About 4,000 questions erupted simultaneously. Rebecca looked momentarily overwhelmed by the barrage of voices. Why would you keep something that could kill you? What evolutionary advantage does this provide? Are you aware of how insane this appears to literally every other species? Rebecca held up her hands, laughing. Okay, one at a time. Look, I think there has been a misunderstanding here. Yes, Dogs are descended from wolves. Yes, cats are predators. But they are also loyal, affectionate, and they make our lives better. A dog does not care if you had a bad day at work, or if you are the most important person in the galaxy. They are just happy you exist. That is special. But the danger, Morix protested weakly. There is minimal danger if you treat them properly, Rebecca said. You respect them, you take care of them, and they become part of your family. Humans have been doing this for thousands of years. It works. I found my voice. And the animals that cannot be domesticated. The ones that remain dangerous. Rebecca's expression turned slightly sheepish. Well, we still try. It does not always work out, granted, but that has never stopped us from trying. That statement hung in the air like a death sentence. 3 weeks later, I found myself standing outside a human dwelling in what they called suburban Colorado, seriously reconsidering every life choice that had led me to this moment. The house looked innocent enough. 2 stories, painted a cheerful yellow, with green vegetation growing in organized patterns around it. A small wheeled vehicle sat in the driveway. Very normal. Very safe looking. Then I heard the barking, deep, resonant barking that made my survival instinct scream at me to flee back to the shuttle. Through the front window, I could see a massive shape moving inside, and I had to remind myself that I was a trained xenobiologist, not a coward. I had faced down Krellian sandworms. I had studied Ventari acid slugs. I could handle one domesticated earth predator, probably. The door opened before I could knock. A human male stood there, grinning broadly. He appeared to be in his mid-40s, with graying hair and laugh lines around his eyes. You must be Vorn. Welcome, welcome. I am David, and this is my wife, Jennifer. A human female appeared beside him, equally cheerful. We are so excited to host you. Come in, come in. Don't worry about Bruno. He is friendly. Bruno, I presumed, was the enormous German shepherd that came bounding toward the door with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for thermal detonations. The creature had to weigh, at least 40 kilograms, all muscle and teeth and terrifying energy. I may have made an undignified squeaking sound. Bruno, sit. David commanded. The dog immediately dropped into a sitting position, though his tail continued wagging with enough force to qualify as a weapon. Good boy. This is Vorn. He is going to stay with us for a while. Be nice. Bruno tilted his head, studying me with intelligent brown eyes. Then he made a soft whining sound and extended one paw toward me. He wants to shake hands, Jennifer explained, as if this was perfectly normal. It is a greeting behavior we taught him. With trembling appendages, I reached out and briefly touched the offered paw. Bruno's tail accelerated to dangerous speeds. He made a happy panting sound that showed altogether too many teeth. He likes you, David announced, as if this was good news rather than a harbinger of my doom. The interior of the house was surprisingly pleasant. Comfortable furniture, images of family members on the walls, a distinct lack of weapons or defensive fortifications despite the presence of a predator. I noticed soft fabric structures on the floor, which Jennifer identified as dog beds, though Bruno seemed to prefer the couch. Make yourself at home, Jennifer said, gesturing toward a chair that Bruno was not currently occupying. Can we get you anything? Water? Tea? We have some galactic standard ration packs if you prefer. Water would be acceptable, I managed, lowering myself carefully into the chair while keeping all 3 eye stalks focused on Bruno. David disappeared into the kitchen. Bruno immediately moved closer to me, tail still wagging. He rested his massive head on my lap and looked up at me with an expression that somehow managed to be both adorable and terrifying. He wants you to pet him, Jennifer said, settling onto the couch. Just run your hand along his head and back. He loves that. And if I decline, he will probably just stare at you sadly until you give in. Bruno is very good at emotional manipulation. Hesitantly, I extended one appendage and touched the dog's head. His fur was surprisingly soft. Bruno made a contented sound and pressed closer. Against my better judgment, I continued the petting motion. The dog's eyes half closed in apparent bliss. See? He is a sweetheart, Jennifer said. We got him from a shelter 5 years ago. Someone had abandoned him, can you imagine? He was so scared and skinny. Now look at him. I looked. Bruno had essentially melted against my lap, radiating contentment. His earlier threatening energy had transformed into something almost peaceful. David returned with water and what appeared to be a plate of small baked goods. Cookies, he explained. Human treat. You might not be able to eat them, different biology and all, but I figured I would offer. Your hospitality is appreciated, I said, genuinely meaning it despite my ongoing terror. I must ask, though. Why Bruno? You could have selected any animal for companionship. Why a predator? David and Jennifer exchanged glances. That is a question we get a lot from the galactic community, David said, sitting down. The truth is, dogs are not just predators anymore. Thousands of years of domestication changed them. Yes, they have the instincts, the teeth, the strength. But they also have loyalty, empathy, and an incredible ability to bond with humans. Bruno knows when I am sad, Jennifer added. Before I even realize it myself sometimes. He will come sit with me, put his head on my knee, just be there. You cannot train that. It is just who he is. But the risk, I protested. Surely there have been incidents. Attacks. Of course there have been, David acknowledged. Dogs are animals. They have limits, triggers, bad days just like any creature. But responsible ownership means understanding that, respecting it, and creating an environment where everyone is safe. The benefits far outweigh the risks. Bruno, as if sensing he was being discussed, rolled onto his back on my lap, exposing his vulnerable stomach. His tail continued its metronome wagging. That is a sign of trust, Jennifer explained. He is showing you he feels safe with you. Something twisted in my chest. This creature, this descendant of apex predators, trusted me. A complete stranger. An alien being. Within minutes of meeting me, he had decided I was safe, worthy of affection. What kind of species creates that? What kind of animal becomes that? The next few days passed in a blur of revelations. I learned that Bruno had a complex routine. Morning walks where he would investigate every plant and pole with scientific thoroughness. Meal times where he would sit patiently, waiting for permission to eat despite the food being right in front of him. Evening play sessions where David would throw a rubber object called a ball, and Bruno would retrieve it with unfailing enthusiasm, over and over, as if it were the greatest game ever invented. I learned that humans speak to their pets constantly. David would have full conversations with Bruno, discussing his day, his concerns, his plans, while Bruno listened with apparent interest, occasionally contributing a bark or whine at appropriate moments. I learned that the bond between human and dog runs deeper than logic. On the third evening, Jennifer received news that her father was ill. She sat on the couch, quietly crying, trying to be strong. Bruno immediately abandoned his dinner, crossed the room, and pressed himself against her, resting his head on her chest. He stayed there for an hour, not moving, just providing comfort through his presence. This is why we keep them, David told me quietly as we watched. They make us better. They teach us about loyalty, about living in the moment, about unconditional love. Bruno does not care that Jennifer is having a bad day. He does not judge her for crying. He just loves her, and wants her to know she is not alone. On the 5th day, I accompanied David and Bruno to what humans call a dog park. It was a fenced area where humans brought their dogs to socialize and exercise. There were dozens of dogs. Big dogs, small dogs, medium dogs. Every shape and size imaginable, all descendants of wolves, all transformed by human companionship into something new, and the humans watched them play with such obvious joy. A small child, no more than 5 human years old, ran past us, giggling as a tiny dog chased her. The dog could have knocked her over easily, but instead matched its pace to hers, playing gently. When she fell, the dog immediately stopped, licking her face until she laughed. An elderly human sat on a bench, throwing a ball for a 3-legged dog, who pursued it with determination, undimmed by disability. The human's eyes were wet, and I heard him whisper, "Good boy, Maximum. You are such a good boy." A young couple walked past with a puppy, barely old enough to be away from its mother. The puppy stumbled on uncertain legs, and both humans made cooing sounds of encouragement. Their faces held such tenderness. This was not dominance. This was not control. This was partnership. This was family. That evening, back at David and Jennifer's house, I sat on the couch with Bruno's head in my lap. I had stopped fearing him somewhere around day 2. Now I found his presence comforting. "I think I understand now," I said quietly. David looked up from his book. "You do not keep them despite the danger. You keep them because you saw potential beyond the teeth and claws. You saw souls capable of connection. And you were right." David smiled. "Every species in the galaxy domesticated prey animals, because it was safe, practical, logical. But humans have never been particularly good at logic. We follow our hearts. We take risks. We see a wolf in the wilderness and think, 'You look cold and hungry. Want to share our fire?' And the wolf said yes," I finished. "And the wolf said yes," David agreed. Bruno made a contented sound, his tail thumping gently against the couch. The next morning, I filed my report with the Galactic Cooperation Initiative. I explained everything I had observed, everything I had learned. I concluded with a statement that would probably get me laughed out of the xenobiology department. Humans do not domesticate predators to conquer them. They domesticate predators to love them. And in doing so, they transform both species into something greater than either could be alone. This is not a threat. This is perhaps the most beautiful thing I have witnessed in my career." I paused, then added a final note. "I have submitted a request to adopt a dog upon returning to my home world. Specifically, I am looking for a German Shepherd. I have been informed that shelter dogs need homes, and apparently, I need a Bruno of my own." 3 months later, when I walked into my dwelling with a rescue dog named Luna, my colleagues thought I had lost my mind. They were probably right, but as Luna settled onto my couch, tail wagging, eyes full of trust and affection, I realized something the rest of the galaxy had not figured out yet. Sometimes the crazy ones are the ones who understand life best. Humans did not domesticate apex predators. They befriended them. And that makes all the difference. Hello everyone. If you are enjoying this video and finding it helpful, don't forget to support our channel. Please subscribe to our channel, press the like button, and share this video with your friends and family. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. We regularly upload amazing, informative, and entertaining content just for you. Your support means a lot to us and motivates us to bring even better content in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and welcome to our growing community.